Welcome to our first ever tutorial video on our new YouTube channel. My name's Gia and I'm the cafe manager here for James Coffee, which is a local roaster and cafe here in San Diego. On this channel, we're going to be doing product reviews, tutorials, and all things coffee. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our channel and like this video so you can keep up with us on YouTube. Today, we're going to get started with something super simple and basic, a pour over. A pour over is a single cup of coffee made by hand. There are lots of ways to make a pour over. Today, we're going to be using a Hario V60. We're going to go over that method and kind of what makes it special. There are 5 basic variables that you want to consider when you're making a pour over, or really any cup of coffee. So we're going to talk about those before we jump in. Water temperature is important, so you're going to want to make sure you have an electric kettle. Today we're using a Fellow electric kettle and we set ours around 200 degrees. Agitation is the next variable. We'll talk about it as I'm pouring, but the amount that you agitate the coffee as you pour is going to affect the strength of the cup that you brew. The next 2 variables are grind size and contact time. The grind size is going to affect how long the water stays in contact with it. The coarser the coffee is ground, the faster the water will pass through it and the contact time will go down. The same is true if the coffee is ground fine, the water is going to pass through slower and the contact time will go up. A longer contact time is going to give you a stronger cup of coffee. A shorter contact time is going to give you something lighter. Today we're going to try and find a balance in between the 2. The last and most important variable is going to be your recipe. It's all about ratios when you're brewing coffee. Here at James we use a 15:1 ratio, so 15 parts water to 1 part coffee. Today we're going to go through that specifically how we do it for a V60, but it's going to change depending on your brew method. Before we get started, here's what you're going to need to make a pour over. You're going to need coffee, ground medium fine, paper filters, a V60 cone, and a gooseneck kettle. And if you want to know what we're using specifically, all the products we use are going to be listed in the description. To get started, we're going to prepare our filter. The first step is going to be to fold along this seam so that it lays nice and flat in your cone. Open it up and lay it in the cone so it's nice and flat on all the edges. Next, we're going to wet our filter and preheat all of our vessels. So just hold on to the filter at the top right as you wet it. Make sure it lays nice and smooth up against the cone. Once it's wet, it'll stick. And you just want to wet the full filter before you get started. This is also preheating the cup underneath so that you're putting hot coffee in a hot vessel. In rinsing the paper filter, we're also getting rid of any of that paper taste that might be there so that our cup of coffee doesn't have any of that in there. Now let's get into our recipe. Today we're using our Ethiopia Sidamo. I've ground it a medium fine setting. It's going to be feeling kind of like table salt. I'm going to measure out 24 grams into my V60. Once you've weighed out your coffee, you're just going to give it a little shake so the coffee settles and you have a nice flat bed. Make sure your scale is tiered and ready to go. Today we're going to pour 360 grams of water over the course of about 1.5 minutes. We're going to do it in a pattern which I'll show you up close. The first step on the pour over is going to be the bloom. The intention behind the bloom is to make sure all the grounds are wet and to allow the coffee to gas off a little bit before you continue brewing. This is going to make a nicer, more complex cup. Once you're ready, you're going to start your timer on your scale and you're going to pour 60 grams of water over the course of 15 seconds. As you pour, you're going to want to make sure not to sit in one place too long, and you're going to follow a clockwise pattern around about a silver dollar size circle all the way till you hit 60 grams. Once you hit 30 seconds, you're going to continue that same pattern clockwise and pour slowly and steady, not sitting in one place, but not hitting all the way to the edge of the filter either. You're going to want to hit 150 grams of water by the 55-second mark, 225 grams of water by the minute 10 mark, 300 by a minute 30, and 360 by a minute 45. Once you hit 360 at a minute 45, you're going to stop and let the coffee finish brewing. Your total brew time should be between 2 and 3 minutes. These times are just markers to help keep you on track and make sure you're pouring consistently, not dumping too much water in right away or letting water sit too long and drain out in the process. Once your coffee's done brewing, the bed should look something like this, flat in the middle with a nice wall of coffee all along the paper filter. Now you're done, you can throw away your filter and enjoy your cup of coffee. While it might not be the easiest pour over method, it is our favorite at James because it gives you the most control over the cup of coffee you get. So that's how we make a pour over here at James. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you can keep up with what we put out next. Hey everyone, welcome to our first ever, you cannot laugh, a pour over. Why are you doing that? There's no reason to say I'm the manager. They don't care because she's looking at me and I'm like, stop looking at me like that. Like, how, do I have to talk about the stuff? Stop moving. And then you're going, I look like a nervous wreck. I'm like, I nailed it. It's because we were on Instagram. Don't film. I'm gonna be really mad. A nice flat bed. Gooseneck. And enjoy your cup of coffee. I'm making you